primary ignition.
You're
What?
good. You're fully live on the streaming world.
We're live out there on the interwebs. When I'm president, I'm going to make sure that everyone gets a steady income for streaming because they're doing real. I can't do Bernie Sanders anymore because it's too real for me.
What about just a steady stream speed?
What's a steady stream speed?
Like we don't need steady income for streaming. We just need internet that works for streaming. We get that for everyone, then people's priorities will be right in line.
Well, so I think there needs to be okay. Bernie is elected president. There is a first 100 days in office. He starts filling out his cabinet, and there's all these things that are getting added and going to Congress. Andrew Yang is the Secretary of Internet Streaming, because you do the internet things and I don't understand, Andrew. You get out there, the $1,000 a month sounds good, okay, and then that $1,000 a month, little as you know, means you have to be a streamer to do that, and you have to be some kind of influencer with an Instagram following. So let's get on that.
I'm glad you sorted everything out, Nick. So this is an episode about the presidential election?
Oh, not at all. We couldn't possibly do that because we'd get in too much trouble.
Right before Super Tuesday, we're going to give our thoughts.
Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
Lamest Avenger ever.
Nick Oswald of Star Wars Loose Cannon officially endorses Bernie Sanders. I can see the headline on New York Times.
I've already been bullying people publicly on the internet, so everyone knows my endorsement. So
the typical Bernie bro move.
Yeah, I've been. I reply guide to everything saying no, you're wrong, and that kind of thing. And then typically aunts and uncles oh, Nick, you're so mean. What are you saying? And there's all this stuff on the and
that was a good aunt and uncle impression too.
Yeah. Oh man, you're so divisive. And I just go, shut up, Aunt Mildred. I don't have an Aunt Mildred. That was all made up. Anyway, so hey, we're Star Wars Loose Cannon. I'm Nick Oswald. Hey, I'll have my group tell you who they are because it's been a bit since we're all been together.
Hey, this is Patrick Ebersol.
There he is.
Yeah.
So, and I'm Alex Lowe.
And this is Chris Higgins.
Chris Hotboy Higgins over there on the ones and twos.
Producer Chris.
Hotboy Chris.
Hotboy Chris. So I've gathered you two together here, my friends, my colleagues, because we're going to start a new series here. And let's see, it's me throwing stuff up against the wall, trying to see if it makes it stick. Kind of similar to a Disney writer's room, perhaps, because as you know, we've closed the book on the Skywalker saga. You don't have to talk about Project Luminous. We're gonna do Project Stupid right now, and maybe go on a different tangent from the High Republic area, which we're very excited about. Obviously, we're very excited. We'll cover with fervor the High Republic era, but this is not what this is about. We're at a crisis, folks. We don't know what the next Star Wars movie is going to be. So you, the listener, are going to be witness to us, which we've already been done. We've done this really well with Steve, A Star Wars Story, if you guys remember. We're waiting for that ink deal pretty soon, and with Disney Plus, that'll come at any time. But we are going to create a writer's room, a pitch meeting, a board meeting. We're going to be the financial crew that puts these hobbled together ideas, and we're going to be the writer-director that creates these movies. But we're going to take on the skin of different filmmakers, let's say. And this one, I've used this as an excuse to be super self-indulgent, to tell you guys about how hip I am with all the different things that I've liked from filmmakers over the past 20 years or so. And this one being the most self-indulgent I could possibly do, we're going to put on the studio mindset and make a Star Wars movie that was written and directed by Wes Anderson. And so this series is called What If They Made a Star Wars, or I put in blanks, What If Blank Made a Star Wars. And this episode is called What If Wes Anderson Made a Star Wars. So, fellas, your thoughts? I'm gonna bring you in. I'm gonna pitch this to you guys. You guys are Disney brass, right? But then we're also gonna be my writers' room. You're also going to be my producers, and we're all gonna take turns being Wes Anderson at some point and figuring out how we make this movie. But what do you guys think of the premise so far?
I think it's a bold artistic direction, and I think it's also an overcompensation for the diversification and the racial makeup of Star Wars by making it very white once again. By
Oh
making
yeah,
it
it's
Wes
gonna be very
Anderson
white. It's gonna be very white and it's gonna be very male.
yeah, very thin generally as well.
Yeah, we went over the list of some possible filmmakers, and once again, very white and very male. I suppose what we really need to do, and this is all in diversity and inclusion, you have to proactively go after it. So we're gonna have to go after some. I mean, none come to mind. So if anyone can tell us who they want to talk to about when it comes to
a tweet.
A tweet that say he was not a white man, and do you want to come on and talk to us about that? Because I'm sure we'd have some people come on that.
I mean, what's her face? Oh my God, Marie Antoinette lady. What's that? Sofia Coppola.
Sofia Coppola is the only, literally one of two that I thought of.
Yeah. Well, Greta Gerwig. Greta Gerwig is another one.
What's her first name?
Catherine Bigelow. There's another one.
What's her first name? I can only think last name Jenkins. She did Wonder Woman.
Sally Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins, right?
There we go.
Jeez, guys, you are not helping our case right now.
So we're 4 white dudes, so please help us not be so white and dudier.
Wait, is Sally Jenkins the lady from The Color of Water or The Shape of Water?
The Color of Water, same movie.
Sorry, yeah, Shape of Water. She's the one that makes sex.
We could do Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah,
Sally Jenkins is an American sports columnist and feature writer for the Washington Post.
That explains why I thought of
Patrick's favorite read.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm having a stroke. I'm gonna be quiet now.
Oh, no, that's okay, guys. I have quite the treat ahead for you guys, but we're gonna also we're not only ripping off of other filmmakers, but we're ripping off of other podcasters. There's going to be categories that we talk about in the vein of the rewatchables. Big Bill Simmons fan. Thank you, Patrick.
The question is going to be who's going to be the Bill Simmons here? Who's going to be the one that awkwardly starts talking about some male actor's penis or something in the middle?
Hey guys, it's Bill Simmons. I like Boston.
Yeah, it's like in Rounders. You guys remember Rounders?
I like a lot of bro movies from the 90s. I'm Bill Simmons.
Nick, each impression you've gone with tonight has been worse than the one before.
But Bill Simmons is real good. And
Jason Segel's work with a little bit of penis there, huh? A little penis.
Yeah, you think about Chris Nolan movies, not enough penis.
It's getting like more drunk as you go.
It's kind of drunk Christopher Walken.
It sounds a little walken-y.
Yeah, anyway, check out the rewatchables if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
That guy had a great penis.
Can we get back to khaki shorts?
Can we get back to more white men? Yeah, sure. So I present to you fellas Wes Anderson, but first we have to explain who Wes Anderson is, because some of our listeners may be big Star Wars fans and maybe they're not huge film buffs like we are, and they don't know they're Wes Anderson from their Paul Thomas Anderson. Heyo. So let's talk about who Wes Anderson is, and I'm going to get real personal. I'm going to talk about who Wes Anderson is to me. But first, I got to add some effects. Because it wouldn't be a good podcast without trying to get stirred up.
Can't hear anything you're saying.
That's okay. I wish I need to get my best Alec Baldwin voice right now, but it's not coming.
I would say don't try that. But we'll start at the beginning when it comes to talking about Wes Anderson. Hans Christian Andersen was a Danish writer. He wrote many plays, travelogues, novels, and poems, but he's best remembered for his fairy tales. And I assume that he has some relation to Sir Wesley.
Yeah, not a very common name, Anderson. So maybe you're right there. But I would say this. So Wes Anderson, to me, I think awakened in me what a hipster is. Or I think maybe set myself down a path of being a 2000s hipster, because I first saw the Royal Tenenbaums, I think, when I was in high school. So it was probably shortly after it came out in 2001. And I remember, like, this is it. This is what I want to be. I want to live in this world. Like, I want to be in the, like, Archer Avenue with Royal Tenenbaum. And I think watching this with my other hipster friends, like, you get the kind of sense from Wes Anderson that if you watch enough Wes Anderson, you become the kind of person that calls every movie a film, and that you think that antiquing is kind of cool, and that maybe you should start getting a couch that you found off of Craigslist. So like this really set the 2000s off on the path that the 2000s are on now, which nobody talks about hipsters anymore, by the way. Man, this sounds like a Trump speech. Anyway, so Wes Anderson is really close to my heart because really it was like the first time that I actually really appreciated a movie for its artistic endeavor. Like you really get into these worlds. And if you don't know the filmography of Wes Anderson, we've got Royal Tenenbaums in 2001. Before that, there's Bottle Rocket. My actual all-time favorite movie, maybe at least in the top 5, is The Life Aquatic. So Life Aquatic was actually the movie I just rewatched last night in preparation for this. But I'm pretty much every Wes Anderson joint is a banger, other than his animated films, which I'm not terribly into. I gave you all an assignment to watch a Wes Anderson film. What films did you watch? See, look, I even saying the word film.
Well, I've spent the last month moving across the country. So I assumed,
we're all in the same time zone now. That's great.
yes, I assumed that the fact that I have seen Moonrise Kingdom at least a dozen times was good enough to justify as having watched.
Is that your jam? Is that your Wes Anderson jam?
Well, it's the most rewatchable for me. Probably my favorite is Rushmore.
Well, yeah, I forgot about Rushmore. I left that out of my little filmography there.
You did, but I think Moonrise Kingdom is the most rewatchable.
So in the last week, I watched Moonrise Kingdom and The Life Aquatic, but of course, I think Life Aquatic's probably my favorite Wes movie. Royal Tenenbaums is maybe the closest to my heart because that's what got me going. But Grand Budapest Hotel is awesome. I love Moonrise Kingdom, though I think Moonrise Kingdom might be his weakest because the world feels too small. But anyway, I asked Alex what he watched. What did you guys watch, Patrick?
Moonrise Kingdom for me as well. To be fair, I didn't watch it recently, but it's the one that's stuck in my mind the most, and I feel like most approachable for me. So, Moonrise Boy.
You're Moonrise Boy. Okay, Chigs.
I started watching
Oh no.
because I was rewatching it, the Grand Budapest Hotel. But then I was rewatching it, so I wanted to watch a new one, and then I actually watched and finished the Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah.
And I've also seen Moonrise Kingdom, and I love Moonrise Kingdom.
I'm actually very surprised because when I rewatched Moonrise Kingdom, I'm like, this one's not really that great. I'm not into it. It's it's like a Beatles album where the worst Beatles album is still better than everyone else's best album, but it might be my least favorite, other than the animated films, which I think are in it.
Yeah, I think the Grand Budapest Hotel is my favorite.
Darjeeling is my least favorite.
Yeah, but it's got that core. Those three guys are just who I want to see interact with each other more than anybody else. Like with obviously Jason Schwartzman being a mainstay in a Wes Anderson movie, but then obviously Owen Wilson too. Anyway, so
are we gonna keep that music just going throughout? I kind of like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, this is just us kind of giving your Wes Anderson. So as I mentioned, Wes Anderson is somebody who uses the same kind of actors over and over again. Most notably, Bill Murray said that he gives Wes Anderson pitches an automatic yes as long as he's available. So I just saw that. Which, by the way, in researching this, I found out that Bill Murray doesn't have an agent and he doesn't have a publicist. He has a 1-800 number that studios call him on and leave voicemails and then give them a pitch for the movie, and he goes yes or no based on that voicemail. Which, to this point, with Wes Anderson, he said that whenever Wes leaves a message, as long as he's available, he says yes to it. So Bill Murray's been in almost every Wes Anderson movie. I think his first one was Rushmore. Of course, Owen Wilson, he's got to be in every Wes Anderson movie, like literally every one. Luke Wilson, of course, Owen Wilson's brother is in most of them as well. Adrian Brody is a newer sort of addition to that. Who else is always in
Jason Schwartzman, of course.
Jason Schwartzman, yeah. So when we talk about this, that'll be one category later is who's in this movie, and you start to get the idea of that. Angelica Houston is always like the powerful lady with rich parents that ends up being annoyed by the man, which I think is kind of fun. But What else? What else makes Wes Anderson Wes Anderson?
The
Well,
visual
whimsy,
style.
Nick. It's
Pastel
it's
colors.
the whimsy across the board.
Yeah, what the thing I always hear is children acting like adults and adults acting like children.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But I
Um,
think the most defining trait, and this is actually what I would love to see in a Star Wars movie. We've talked a lot, especially the most recent podcast, about how the Star Wars films were going to age, about the humor in Star Wars or the shortcomings of the humor in the sequels. What I love is the deadpan comedy of Wes Anderson
That's what I
movies,
was
and I
thinking
feel
too.
like
which
yeah,
would really
there's a
translate
lot
well
that
to
could be
Star
done
Wars,
with
wouldn't it?
yeah.
Because it's Star Wars humor wants to be deadpan. I think in the Skywalker saga, I think it's a little bit overdone, like you and talked about with David V. Kimball. But I think Star Wars could use a movie that's entirely a comedy based on like that kind of dry comedy as well. But also, the one thing about Wes Anderson movies that really make a point is the violence is really underscored. Like the violence is goofy, and like even when somebody gets shot or shot at, it's funny. And I think that Star Wars could use that because I think Star Wars already belittles violence, and we see clones fall off and clones die, and obviously stormtroopers are very expendable. We could at least make that funny instead of kind of weird and gross.
I like
Or
how
all
it's
the above.
downplayed.
Yeah.
I could
We'll get
easily
it.
see Anakin talking about it as a Force ghost. We had some problems, me and my son. I chopped his arm off. He blew up my Death Star.
Yeah, Owen Wilson does the Anakin Force Ghost. Wow, I've had a couple of setbacks.
Yeah.
This series is just going to be Nick doing impressions, isn't it?
And badly. I think I need Patrick to step in. Patrick just
Yeah.
needs to go, no.
Who is that? Who's that? Saying
Who-
no.
That was his Patrick impression.
I was like,
No.
yeah.
That's me coming in with my buttery smooth Patrick voice. No.
Oh. All right. Well, should we get to some of these categories, Nick?
Well, first I got to give you the
I
treatment.
jumping the
So
gun. My bad.
This is I'm going to get very specific because this isn't going to be a movie about anything. This is going to be a very specific Star Wars movie that Wes Anderson creates. So you guys, I'm Wes Anderson. Let's say I'm down on my luck, and let's say the French Dispatch that comes out this summer is a flop, and I'm looking for my next score. You guys are Disney execs, not Bob Iger, R.I.P. And then I'm going to give you my elevator pitch for what movie I'm going to make for Star Wars, because you know what? I really want to make a Star Wars, and I'm Wes Anderson. So here we go. All right, it's the Age of the Empire, right? So we're back to we're not this isn't Project Luminous. We're in the Age of the Empire. It's a heist movie, but not really like how Rogue One was a heist movie that we thought it was going to be, but this is deliberately a heist movie, but dumber. So, think Bottle Rocket, where it's criminals but dumber. Think Underworld, though. So not just, like quirky Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson types, but like dumb, hilarious, funny underworld slackers that are trying to make it in the world. So almost sort of like the underbelly of society that we see in The Mandalorian, but at the height of its notoriety. So like where we're at, like crime is just huge because we're of course in the Age of the Empire, and there's crime that's overlooked, and then there's crime that's lawful and all this kind of stuff, but not sad and lonely, right? Because Mandalorian could be kind of sad and lonely. So think about that era where we're creating crimes and all that kind of stuff. So we have a dim-witted protagonist, and he's got a heart of gold, and he's got an he's got an annoyed but loyal companion. All right, so heist movie, dim-witted protagonist. So we're on the outskirts of Imperial society. We're, skirting the galaxy, going from outer rim outpost to outer rim outpost. We're trying to avoid crews of the rebellion as much as we're trying to avoid Imperials, because really that's too many entanglements. If I get caught by the rebels, they're just going to want me to do things for them. And with the Imperials, I'm just going to get in prison or whatever. So this heist fails, and ultimately angers a powerful warlord. Are you guys getting me yet? Do you catch my drift here? This movie is going to be called Smuggler's Run, and this is a pitch for Solo 2. Yes, I just did that. Wes Anderson is going to make Solo 2. he's going to make Solo 2 happen. Hashtag make Solo 2 happen. But hashtag by Wes Anderson. So I just pitched you a movie that everyone is calling for, but a definite, like a Taika Waititi-esque departure from the other film.
So now we're supposed to be the executives and respond to this pitch?
Yeah, I mean, you got to greenlight it because otherwise we have to end the episode.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. I only take pitches to my 1-800 number.
Oh, thanks, Bill.
Well, so I mean, obviously we have one pitch here with the story, but I mean, are we still working with Alden Ehrenreich and co, or are we?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, so we're
think...
not Wes Anderson-fying the cast.
Well, to me, I think this has to star Alden Ehrenreich, Jonas Sutomo in the Chewbacca suit, of course, and then Emilia Clarke for sure, and obviously Childish Gambino. He's gonna reprise his role as Lando Calrissian. But other than that, we can kind of go wherever. Woody Harrelson was dead. So is Paul Bettany. Everyone's clamoring to see some more live action Darth Maul, which, of course, if we need to do that, we can put in Ray Park, no problem. But other than that, a 5-person cast, we can put anyone in this movie. So we can still have the required Jason Schwartzman and required Owen Wilson in this movie. And I'm sure both of those guys would love to be in a Star Wars.
I demand Bob Balaban as an Imperial officer.
And he's the narrator. Maybe this is the first Star Wars with a narrator.
Yeah.
And he puts his foot up just like in Moonrise Kingdom in 2 days' time.
Yeah. You have to have interludes of like one Jizz Whaler just playing his own little saxophone thing on his own too.
Yes, exactly. All right, so that was my twist, my little surprise that I didn't want to tell you guys about. But I'm pitching you guys Solo 2, and also not only that, this should make the Disney brass happy because I'm naming it after one of the rides at Disney. It's called Smuggler's Run.
It's true. See, the thing is that would maybe cause for some great synergy between the park and the Wes Anderson Solo. I'm gonna call it Solo Dose. Smuggler's Run.
Solo Dolo? Okay.
They're going to have to switch it and get the people that made It's a Small World to go and like redo Smuggler's Run, the ride, to Wes Anderson-fy it by getting little miniatures and putting it all throughout the super high-tech ride.
Well, you guys haven't been there yet, but the little dolls almost are made to look homemade and kitschy. So we're already there with Wes Anderson. So.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Smuggler's Run can be made to do parts of this movie. And of course, what comes to mind is I'm thinking of a Zissou-esque kind of stop motion animatronics for the aliens in this movie, because I think it would be cute. But you're imagining the whole scene with Steve and the crew that get into the sub to go after the jaguar shark at the end. Like, just imagine that being Han and Chewie. And you can just totally put that on in your brain.
Well, I'm digging the pitch so far. I'll say that much. I'm eating it. I'm eating this delicious feast you've put in front of me.
Chris, are we can we make this movie? I mean, one thing is, if we can get this out in the world and get some viral, attention behind it, maybe Wes actually will make this movie.
I'm liking it so far because I think right now the first Solo was kind of like a Fast and Furious in the Star Wars world, and I think that has its own pros and cons. But I didn't like that. I think Star Wars is it can be a little smarter than that. But I'm also curious, does the fan base get behind that? Does Wes Anderson's fan base, the indie crowd, do they get more excited about Star Wars? Because they're people that's a fan base that I think you would want in your corner. Because they're so big on Wes Anderson.
I feel like this Venn diagram is going to be pretty thick, though, because I feel like the people that are in the Wes Anderson court would still probably like a Star Wars movie made by him. And to think about it, this is sort of Disney's MO, right? Because Rian Johnson was a quirky little indie filmmaker before he made, that movie that ruined all our childhoods. But I think this could be in it. And like I said, this is an experimental period. We don't know where to go with the movies. Presumably they want to do Project Luminous movies in the near future. And that's what they probably wanted Benioff and Weiss to do. But, I think we could probably go in all these little directions here with this. Or This just goes straight to Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about, I guess one thing that has really just would be such a contrast between Solo 1 and Solo 2 in your scenario is just like the acting. Like instead of like these over the top performances, it's like, hey, like, oh, you're Chewie. Okay, great. Should we get out of here? Should we escape? Yeah, let's go. Instead of being like, oh my God, like, stop throwing me around. Like, I really like that juxtaposition.
Just
It would
imagining him,
slow down a little bit, right?
him
Yeah.
turning to Chewie and being like, "Never tell me the odds, Chewie," and then Chewie being like, "Arr." and then hits him Paul Simon, and they start, flying through asteroids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's all right? I successfully greenlit my pitch. What's the budget for this movie?
I would give it 20 mil.
Because it's going to be cheaper, right? Because
Yeah,
we're
it's gotta
going to
look-
use
and
stop
it's gotta
motion.
look. It's got to look low budget too.
It's got to
gotta
look
there were
like
four sets, and they were all made by like a youth theater troupe.
yeah. Wes Anderson is the thrift store version of a filmmaker too. You know, like it looks good
It's aesthetic.
because people who can go to a thrift store and look good look really good, and that's Wes Anderson with filmmaking.
It has to look homey.
Yeah.
You know.
I like that we're calling 20 million thrift store. Yeah, Royal
For Disney,
Tenenbaums
yeah.
was sure. Royal Tenenbaums, the budget was 21 million, and I feel like that's the right spot to live in here.
Yeah, and there that was pretty light on the special effects. So, I guess maybe we should probably have the budget of a Life Aquatic.
What was that,
At
like
least.
40 mil?
I'll
This-
do
this
the
is an Alex
research.
question.
Hold your thoughts. Hold your thought.
I
The
should have. I
budget
should
was
have.
50 mil.
Okay, that's perfect.
Wait,
Because I
wow.
Wait,
Okay,
what?
so-
It was that much?
Budget was 50 million, and the box office was 34.8 million. You don't think of that as a flop?
Yeah, sure.
Wow. Yeah, and its highest grossing film was 100 million. So
Well-
we need to. I mean, obviously, when you put Star Wars, slap that on there, it changes things.
Yes, a little
You just never. The thing is, when you hear Wes Anderson, I don't think a phrase you'll ever hear is "big budget Wes Anderson film." It's kind of a contradictory phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we do need the Zissou budget because we want to go on location because we do need to have some good backdrops. We can't just be in interiors all the time. We need
Well,
to have
here's-
cool sets.
Part of the question is, are we, in order to be true to the Anderson aesthetic, are we scaling down the quality of like also the costumes? Like, will Chewbacca look like he's just wearing a bunch of wigs, or is it going
No.
to? So that's, I think, where that 50 mil will go, is preserving the aesthetic of the costumes and the characters.
Yeah.
Like
Wait,
you
I
don't
have
have
to
to.
ask-
We gotta build the Millennium Falcon. I'm thinking like Wes goes, listen, we just use what you just built for the last series, right? We just keep that. That doesn't come out of my budget. Because we still need the Millennium Falcon to look like it has in every other film. The difference is we're gonna have a cutaway tracking shot of the Millennium Falcon because that's what Wes Anderson does. So it's gonna look just like it, but we're gonna see like essentially like the Zissou version of "Let Me Tell You About My Boat," where he kind of breaks the fourth wall, and we just see the screen come up, and it goes to Chewie welding something. It goes, to the back of the parts of the Millennium Falcon that we've never seen before, and it's Han just saying, "Well, I got it from Lando," and like kind of doing this little sequence just like Steve did.
I
can
gotta
dig it.
ask before we go on. You guys have seen the Conan video of Wes Anderson doing Star Wars, right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking, Nick, this has already been thought of a million times. People have already done this, Wes Anderson, and like there's I think Saturday Night Live did one as well.
Mm-hmm.
They did the horror
It's like
movie
a
one,
slasher, yeah.
Yeah,
which was
great.
probably the best one.
Yep.
But they've done like worse ones where it's their what is it? It's like the auditions of them doing it, and it's
There's
Owen
one-
Wilson.
One of the YouTubers I like, named Patrick Willems, did a parody of if Wes Anderson did an X-Men movie.
Yep, very good.
Very, very, and he also has a what's that? Oh, if Werner Herzog did Ant-Man, which is really great. So recommend both of those.
That'll be very good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're about between 50 and 60 million is for the budget because we need some quirky, cool sets and we definitely need a lot of colors And I think 60 million gets us there. Okay, great. We've locked it down.
Great.
Stars. Who's the cast and who do they play?
Well, this is where I have an issue with your pitch.
Okay.
Because I think if Wes Anderson is doing this, he recast everyone. I think you've
Alden
got
has to be Han Solo, though.
I think you've got Edward Norton playing Han Solo. I think you've got
No,
you've got Willem Dafoe as Chewie.
He would get a child to play Han Solo. He would get some unknown child to play him. And
saying
then,
some really serious stuff.
yeah.
You know?
And then Chewie would be one of his older actors.
Bob Balaban.
I want Bob Balaban to play either an Imperial officer or some sort of like he has to be a narrator of some sort. He has to be some external character. Yeah.
Oh wait, Tilda Swinton as Chewie.
There we go. Yeah. To pontificate all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So all right.
I just think
who's
we're
Owen Wilson
losing
gonna
an
play?
opportunity.
Owen Wilson has to be in this movie.
Owen Wilson would be like the bartender at one of the cantinas.
Oh, so you're looking for work, huh?
Yeah. I've seen him around here. That was
Because
terrible.
again, as I mentioned, this movie also has a point in canon. Like this isn't just, Wes Anderson for Wes Anderson's sake. Like this is going to tell a specific story that hasn't been told yet. And really it's how Han Solo fucked up the Jabba mission.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is getting him on the course to be screwed over by be screwed over by Jabba, and of course being hunted down by Greedo. I don't know if we're gonna get that close to A New Hope, but we're gonna I want to show the thing where he pushes all the freight out into space because of Imperial trouble.
Yeah. I think, well, obviously, maybe it's easy and expected to immediately go to start thinking about Wes Anderson's take on Mos Eisley Cantina, but I immediately start thinking about how you would take Bill Murray and throw him in there, or some other guy. I mean, is that where he would assemble his heist crew? Is at the Mos Eisley Cantina and start picking out all of his little buddies there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I think Bill Murray is some sort of ne'er-do-well kind of older version of Han Solo, almost like what Woody Harrelson was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
In the first movie, but of course Woody's dead. I think Jason Schwartzman is an Imperial officer.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah.
With a mustache.
He would be like an Imperial officer, doctor, like there is in Mandalorian,
Oh yeah, well that guy in the Mandalorian pretty much is that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Luke Wilson as Greedo.
Over my dead body. Exactly. Yeah. Who can do a Luke Wilson impression? I don't, not me.
No, we've learned that.
So part of my plot that I think needs to happen is there's also a rebel entanglement. And here's another thing that this movie needs to have is I want a real soundtrack, because we've had enough songs that sound like in-world songs, especially on Canto Bight, that just sounded like Roaring Twenties. Nowadays they have on what's the song they keep playing over and over again on Jedi Fallen Order. They're playing this radio song. There's music on it that sounds like real world Earth music. Let's just remove this firewall. We're gonna actually have music, and one of the ones is Han gets captured by rebels while he's on his heist or in mid heist, and cut to him being walked into a rebel base to none other than Rebel Rebel by David Bowie. Because everyone's been waiting for that moment just to hear Rebel Rebel in a Star Wars movie, so we're just gonna give it to him.
Yeah. I think there should be Blondie at some point in it as well.
Yeah, every Wes Anderson movie kind of has a motif. Zissou was David Bowie. Royal Tenenbaums was the Beatles, and also Rolling Stones, I think, was a lot of stuff in there. I can't remember what Darjeeling and Budapest Hotel was, but there's always this little motif of here's the kind of musical canon I'm taking from.
Mm-hmm.
Budapest was just a really great Alexandre Desplat soundtrack.
But the composer is Mark Mothersbaugh, no question.
I'd be down with that. Get a little bit of that Devo flavor.
Devo flavor. I mean, he also did Thor Ragnarok, if you don't
Mhm.
remember.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in that superhero kind of canon. So I think we can do that.
So I'm not entirely sure of this. I don't know if it was Mark Mothersbaugh, but I believe a lot of the ex-Devo members were the guys who came up with a lot of the soundtrack for the hit TV show Rugrats. So
Yeah,
It was Mothersbaugh
it
on
was
Rugrats.
Mothersbaugh for sure.
get some of that Rugrats flavor. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
Han Solo really is a Rugrat in his own right.
So we've been through a couple of categories already. You guys didn't know. So we've pitched the movie. We've gotten the budget. We've gone over the stars. Which, if there are any other Wes Anderson stars that we've missed, they're just going to be on the Rebel set, and they're just going to be a Rebel or an Imperial. Very easily, we can get all of Wes's buddies in there.
Mhm.
Composer is Mark Mothersbaugh. Soundtrack has some Bowie songs in it. And what did you say, Patrick? You said Blondie,
I could see some Blondie, some Call
like
Me.
Heart of Glass.
Heart
Yeah,
of
Call
Glass,
Me.
maybe. Yeah.
Because one thing that in thinking about making this into Solo 2, and I think this was the main thing, because I want to do if Wes Anderson made a Star Wars for a while. But what made me really do this as Solo 2 is the trailer where they dubbed Beastie Boys Sabotage into the trailer, which is really cool. And I thought that would really work well into a Solo movie. So we could even do something a little bit newer than Blondie and Bowie, like something maybe say Beastie Boys era, like mid '90s Beastie Boys.
Girls by Beastie Boys.
Yeah. No, that's Brass Monkey. Never mind. Sorry about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Beastie
Beastie
Boys.
Boys.
We actually put Sabotage in the movie somewhere because it just makes sense.
It's just the thing is for me, and you guys can call me on this if I'm wrong. When I think about a Wes Anderson movie, I don't think about something that's loud or aggressive. And so I feel like if Beastie Boys Sabotage was in there, it would be like some weird acoustic version played on like a ukulele and a xylophone.
By
But
Sue
that'd be
George.
super cool.
Yeah, I'm not saying it would be cool. I'm saying that's what it would be though. Like
Yeah.
turn the music down a little bit. It has to all sound like it's lullaby music.
When I saw Life Aquatic in 2004, I think it got me on down the road of being obsessed with the Portuguese language because it is a very weird sounding language. It's like Spanish, but kind of German and kind of French. And I would just imagine like having Sue George do Beastie Boys again. Like,
Mhm.
je vow for your party. Like doing like some weird Portuguese fight for your right in there, but like acoustic on the back of the Millennium Falcon. Okay, so Sue George.
Was that real Portuguese, or did you just make up?
I just made that up.
It was-
Because Portuguese has a lot of je and a lot of vowel.
He's basically speaking it. I mean, that's
foul. Like that
Yeah,
sounds
we
like,
just lost all our Portuguese listeners.
yeah.
Sorry about that. We'll get you back. Okay, so next category. I think this is an easy one. Is this a standalone movie? Is this a trilogy, or is this a Disney Plus series?
Standalone movie.
Absolutely, it's one off. We're not seeing this again. This is a lightning in a bottle, my friends.
Lightning in a bottle rocket.
You're only gonna
Hey-o.
get away with this once.
Yeah, we're gonna get away with this
Yeah.
once.
This ain't getting greenlit again.
I'm gonna like send this to Wes Anderson and Bob Iger, R.I.P., in an envelope, and so it just opens and plays this episode, so that we could just kind of like put that out there. Next category, iconic scenes in the movie. I've already talked to you about the cutaway shot of the Millennium Falcon, because we're obviously gonna have that. One scene I want to have is catching up on all the things that Han and Chewie have been doing since Solo 1. But it's like the part in Rushmore that talks about all of Max Fisher's extracurriculars, like he's in the go-kart society and all that kind of stuff. So it just kind of goes through in a movie montage of all of the crimes that Han and Chewie have done.
I also think in that vein, the preparing for whatever battle we're going into, where they're gathering all their weapons, which was parodied best in the SNL horror movie thing.
Oh,
when they're
yeah.
bringing out everything they have, but
And,
that is
and
a
the
must.
text is on the screen. Like,
Yes.
yeah. Sledgehammer.
Yeah. Other iconic scenes.
I mean, I think you would have a scene with Chewie and Han playing the space chess on the Millennium Falcon in like a very deadpan, monotone way, where they kind of argue about who won, you know.
Yep.
So did we say what the heist actually is going to be, or is that still up for
What
discussion.
I don't think in canon. Again, this serves a canon purpose. This movie. We're not just
It
doing.
would have to be Spice. He's a spice.
Is it
smuggler.
spice? Yeah, because then he hides the spice in those little compartments in the Millennium Falcon, and then he dishes it at the first sign of Imperials. So we've already stolen spice from Kessel, so we gotta. I guess we gotta think of something else.
This is not answering your question, Nick, but it's a genius thought, and I have to get it out there. Dash Rendar has to be involved in this somehow.
Yes,
And he has to
played
be,
by.
maybe he's played by Luke Wilson.
No, but he's not buff
no,
enough.
he'd be played by Tony Ravioli, whatever his name is. The kid
Who's
from the Grand Budapest Hotel, the waiter kid, the bellhop.
His name's Tony Ravioli.
Yeah, it is. It's like
Revelori.
yeah,
Okay.
but
Revelori.
it's all there. No, but I want Dash Rendar to show up, and I want him to be played, or like Jeff Goldblum. Like, you smuggle?
Oh, I have a bit of a job for you.
Interesting,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Ooh, those eyes, nice eyes. I like your eyes. Wow, that would be great.
It's my birthday. Favorite part of Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Side plot. I think one thing I want with this movie is I don't know if Lando and Han come into contact, but I want them both to be in this movie because something tells me we wouldn't get a Lando standalone, and that he's kind of has to be attached to the Solo franchise. So if we're gonna get Childish Gambino as Lando again, it's gonna be through this movie, and I want this to be almost like an anthology, which I get the thinking here that that's what the French Dispatch is going to be this summer, that they're all kind of separate stories. But anyway, I think Lando has his own story about acquiring Cloud City.
That's fair. And then we'll have it be Danny Glover reminiscing about things.
With him and his son,
Mm-hmm.
Donald Glover.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do really cool things with Cloud City. Again, like some very ornate tracking shots where they just follow Lando and him having some very chipper dialogue with one another.
Well, save it if that's not a part of this one.
No, this is in Solo too, because I don't know
Oh.
if the heist is enough.
Well, I feel like we could have our own Lando saga.
Yeah, I want to say that Lando should have his own standalone. So, okay, let's say we can say this one. It doesn't have to be a Wes Anderson movie, but Lando gets his own movie, and it's how he acquired Cloud City.
Yeah, I dig that.
Okay.
Save it.
More iconic scenes, anybody?
No. I think we've hit them.
Well, I think one, every Wes Anderson movie has to have a comical scuffle where there's like a
yes.
drum line, similar to what I'm playing right now from Royal Tenenbaums. And it's the drum line where they all kind of fight with each other. And because this is a Star Wars movie and there's blasters all the time, we could just kind of have this blaster fire happening over this music. So it's just like do 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 do, but they're like falling downstairs, yelling at each other. Like some people might die, but you know, it's going to be that
No one
kind
important
of comical,
dies.
yeah, rolling down the stairs and that kind of thing.
Which sounds fun.
It's Wes Anderson, baby. It's fun.
Yeah.
Other things that are a must with Wes Anderson, like I said before, kids acting like adults and adults acting like kids.
Yes. We haven't really brought up too many kids.
Yeah, who are going to be the kids?
Well, not even actors specifically, because I do think what Patrick said about unknown actors makes sense, but like what roles do kids play?
It would be little slave kids on Tatooine.
No.
That's mainly what you would get.
Maybe we just rip off the Mandalorian and he accidentally smuggles a little slave kid.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a lot more awkward when it's not a baby. You know, if it's like a 5-year-old that you're like walking around with all the time, it seems.
I was
weird.
thinking like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, just I don't know. That's a whole other conversation. But how the Mandalorian would have felt if it was like a 12-year-old walking around with the Mandalorian. I don't want to be here. I'm hungry. Shut up.
This is stupid. When do I get my lightsaber?
Why don't you ever take your helmet off?
Yippee!
Yeah, but no,
It's
Tatooine Slave
working.
Kids would be, I think, your main go-to wise beyond their years adult children.
That's also a great band name, Tatooine Slave Kids.
There you go for it.
It's
Yeah.
like what Chris Pratt names Mouse Rat eventually.
Mouse Droid.
Mouse Tribe. All right. So we're running out of categories because this is the first time we've done this. And hey, similar to rewatchables, they thought them as they went up. But what is the obligatory fan service of this movie? I mean, all Star Wars are kind of fan service in their own right, but like, what's going to be the kind of like, you could have gone without that, but like Disney made Wes do it.
Maybe Han discovering his vest for the first time.
Putting on the vest.
Yeah. And
Nah.
having some like overwrought backstory to it of like importance, you know?
So another trademark of Wes Anderson movies is that people find family and there's like a lot of reconnection in really weird places. So maybe it's like the introduction of Han's parents.
Maybe he wasn't solo after all.
Mm.
And I guess who's his dad? Is it somebody like that we know from the Star Wars
Bill Murray.
universe?
Bill Murray's his dad. There we
Bill
go.
Murray is Han's dad?
Yep.
Oh, okay, perfect. So we would just recast Bill Murray real quick.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of want like Steve Buscemi.
Oh.
Donnie, you're out of your element.
Or
Oh,
Gene
sorry,
Hackman.
Wrong episode.
Yeah.
Gene
Hackman,
could be the dad.
there's such an age range there though. Such an age gap. I mean, there's one with Bill
Gene
Murray
Hackman's
too.
still having kids. Don't you worry.
You say that like you have like personal intel.
Guys, I have something to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dig that. Okay. Any other categories?
The mom would Han Solo's mom would be Frances McDormand.
Yes. I like
Yeah.
that.
So yeah, it was just on the Moonrise Kingdom bit a little bit.
Just-
Then, huh?
Yeah, curmudgeonly parents. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm out of categories. What else? What else should be categories in this show, guys?
well, I think that we have to think about, and which we've already done, so this doesn't help us now. But we have to think about the most iconic that guy or that girl actor in relation to the director, and it can be more than one. And if they have those actors, we have to find ways to slot them into the movie one way or another. So we've been doing that. But
I think for other directors, that'll be less of an obvious thing.
when we get to Scorsese, it's like, all right, who's De Niro going to be and who's DiCaprio going to be? You know,
Yeah.
who's Pesci going to be?
Wes has a
Pesci.
lot of that guys, though. I
Yeah,
would say.
Yeah,
he is that guy director.
yeah. I guess maybe we'd want to well, no, never mind. I was like, how would we pitch the trailer? What would the tone of the trailer be? But it's like, a Wes Anderson trailer when you see one.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
It's gonna be kind of that tinkly kind of like do 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 do, or like I think the variations that you talked about with the soundtrack, that there's some classic John Williams scores that are just done a little bit cuter, like you were in a little shabby chic shop in Logan Square.
So here's an idea. What cross promotional media would come out to supplement the movie? So
So
whether
like
it
Taco
be
Bell toys.
that or like a Wes Anderson video game or Wes Anderson like some sort like an official soundtrack to accompany the movie.
From
You
Mark
know-
Mothersbaugh on vinyl.
Yeah, like what partnering item would come out, or like a young adult scholastic book, like
Did
what
you
would come out?
see the 3-volume vinyls that came out with Watchmen this year?
Yeah,
They're
the Trent
really
Reznor
cool.
albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see something like that. So, because it's Wes and being very hip, like there would be vinyl for sure. I could see there being, like you said, trinkets at Galaxy's Edge. Okay, here's another. This is a category for the future I've already mentioned, but tie in at Galaxy's Edge, and of course it's called Smuggler's Run, so it will have a run similar to Star Tours, where Star Tours changes when there's different movies that come out. So Smuggler's Run could be fully transformable into the Wes Anderson Smuggler's Run, so you feel like you're watching stop motion Steve Zissou footage instead of actually a Star Wars ride.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that there would be some like really retro chic giant aviators that one of the characters wear that you would be able to get as swag at Disney World.
Ooh, yeah. We just called this category instead of cross promotional. We just say merchandise. Like,
What kind of merch?
What kind of merch is coming out for this?
How would you extend the Wes Anderson experience of Star Wars beyond just the film?
Yes.
So we got to have a whole. I mean, because Star Wars is really just a marketing push at all, from all directions. So how do we supplement that? Obviously, all of the action figures would be made of like stitched together or like wooden action figures. They'd have to be artisanal in one way or another.
I think there's some kind of like card stock, correspondence stock, you know. I think every Wes Anderson movie has like they're set in modern-ish times, but they have things that people don't do anymore, like write on correspondence stock.
There'd be some sort of special edition paper stock for your typewriter that would have some sort of template around it or something.
I can only think of Adidas tracksuits, but that's just a Royal Tenenbaums.
The video game that would accompany it would be like the old school adventure game where you type in your answer for how to move forward, where it would describe the setting with like, you know, font.
Only available on
Text-based
Commodore
game.
64.
It would be a text-based game. Yeah.
All right. Well, should I recap it?
Okay, yeah. Bring it on home. Tell us the movie we just made.
So the movie we just made is called, I've been taking notes the whole time, guys. The movie we just made is called Smuggler's Run, directed by Wes Anderson. Can I get some music for this?
I only have the 3 tracks already played.
Replay one of them.
All right, hold on. It's going to be super loud.
So the movie's called Smuggler's Run. It is directed by Wes Anderson. We give him a budget of $50 million. It stars everyone who's ever been in a Wes Anderson movie.
Wait, pause real quick. Is it Smuggler's Run, a Star Wars story? Is that the official name?
I thought it was Solo Dos, Smuggler's Run.
Well, I think the colloquial term will be Solo 2. Everyone's going to call it Solo 2. But I think it's Smuggler's Run, a Star Wars story.
All right, replay me and I'll start over.
Okay, ready?
All right, so the movie is called Smuggler's Run, a Star Wars story, directed by Wesley Anderson. We've given him a budget of $50 million. It stars everyone who's ever been in a Wes Anderson movie. The soundtrack is composed by Mark Mothersbaugh. The soundtrack includes Bowie playing Rebel Rebel, a version of Blondie, and also a version of the Beastie Boys. It is a standalone movie.
You're
not a
explain
series.
it this way?
The iconic scenes involve gathering items, playing space chess, and a scuffle. Another trait that we haven't figured out is kids acting like adults, and they are mostly Tatooine slave children. Some combination of Gene Hackman and Bill Murray play Han's dad. And that's the movie we've made, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're welcome, Disney.
When you
for
put it that way.
buckets of money we're bringing your way.
Guys, this is just like when Bill Simmons reviewed Heat for the first time, right? This is the beginning of an era. Guys, this is my favorite movie from the 90s.
I don't think you know who Bill Simmons is. Your impression is way off.
It starts well, but then it starts getting a little like weird.
Guys, what's the guy who's always on it?
Does Bill Simmons get really drunk on these episodes?
Yeah,
He
no.
sounds
He's
like
kind
it.
of a guy who just sounds drunk all the time because he's just thinking about Boston sports. His Boston sports are intoxicating.
You sound like Chris Matthews more, actually.
Chris Matthews, that's a little bit more whiny.
And before we offend the rest of our listeners, you guys should
All the Chris
rate,
Matthews
review.
stands.
The contingent of
it's
Chris
just like
Matthews
when
fans on our
We
Bust
don't
the
have many
Bachelor.
groups left, guys. I think over the years we've offended just about every country that possibly listens to us.
Portuguese
People who like the
Sorry,
prequels,
Portuguese
people who hate the prequels.
Portuguese Chris Matthews stands.
The Portuguese.
We don't want to leave out any countries at this point, so write us in if you haven't been offended.
We'll happily get to you soon.
And if you're Sally Jenkins, feel free to reach out.
Very important demographic.
We definitely
need-
got to tweet this link at Sally Jenkins.
We
Yeah.
need some ideas for directors that aren't white men. So if you
If you would like to tell a
So does
podcast
Hollywood,
hosted by,
am I
by
right?
4 white men.
Ooh.
Ha-cha-cha.
Yeah. Well, that's a goal for us to ensure that we have some sort of diversity in the directors that we choose here. But it looks like our initial ones are 2 more white dudes, so
Yeah.
it'll
So
still
tune
be
back
fun
in.
regardless. Yeah. So
Like, rate, review, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your grandma. We love you guys much.
Yeah, I'd like to say that we get promoted by word of mouth, but it's kind of true. Everyone else tags us on Twitter more than we tag ourselves. So thank you for shout out WSTR Public Access. And
And-
Faking Star Wars.
And Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
and Sally Jenkins. Thank you.
Well, anyway, that was If They Made a Star War. Thank you for listening. Maybe we won't do this again. Maybe I'm Bill Simmons and I create a whole empire off of it.
God dang it.
For
Nice.
Sean
And
Bennett, Bill
stop.
Simmons, this is rewatchables. I like Tarantino. See ya, bye.
I have